Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're enjoying our response videos because here we are again doing one because this is a video that was suggested by one of our supporters and I looked at it and of course it kind of pissed me off, and so I'm going to respond to it. And the reason I'm going to is because of this. The name of our group is Just Facts, Not Fear, and that is exactly what we mean. It's exactly what we believe in. So when I see these videos that maybe cherry pick one or two facts and then run with it and spread fear and ignore all the other facts that go against their argument, that is antithetical to what we do in this channel, what we want to do. We want to look at all the facts, use common sense and rationality and logic to reach conclusions, and then base our behavior and our philosophies on that, on the results of that research. So today what I'm going to do is respond to a video that was published by Brittany De La Mora.
I was in the porn industry for a total of 7 years.
What?
I had left at one point and then got involved with a pimp, and then he got me back into the industry for another 3.5 years.
What the fuck?
It's Brittany, bitch.
Aren't these shoes awesome? Well, Mr. Bus Driver. It's a date, baby. I'm starving.
Jenna Presley is my real name, didn't you know that? I am the granddaughter that Elvis did not want you to know about.
It would be very easy for me to pick on Brittany for her personal views and for the spelling of her name. I choose not to. I choose to remain above that, but it does kind of tell us certain things about her. Draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to do it here. And in the video that we're going to review today, she published a video about the decriminalization of child pornography and the celebrating of predators here in Germany. Now, as most of you know, I live in Germany. I have lived in Germany for quite a number of years now. In fact, I'm a permanent resident of Germany and, in fact, have applied for my citizenship here in Germany. And I work here in Germany, and I have many German friends here. And so I have a pretty darn good idea of what's going on in Germany. And I do keep my thumb on the pulse, the political pulse of the nation, because I live here. I'm interested in what's going on. And because I live here, I spend more time now concentrating on what's going on in the German news and the German government as opposed to what's going on in America. So I rely on you folks to send us videos or to send us information about what's going on in the U.S. that we need to see, because we don't see everything. And in fact, these days, not trying too hard to see the craziness that's going on over there. So, as always, I'm going to let Brittany have the first word. Brittany, take it away.
Our world is sick. Germany has just decriminalized child pornography, and a pedophile group is celebrating this.
Before we get too much further, let me tell you that Germany did not decriminalize child pornography. It is still illegal here. But let's have her explain herself.
Find out more on Uncensored with Brittany De La Mora.
Faith. That tells you a lot right there. Uncensored. You think she's uncensored? Let's get into it.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Uncensored with Brittany De La Mora, where I share culturally relevant topics from a Christian perspective. Thanks for
a Christian perspective. You now have the basis of where she's coming from. You have a pretty good idea of where this video is going and how much she's going to hold to the facts.
Joining me. I just want to ask you to engage, be a part of the community, like this video if you want to see more of these, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a beat by ringing that bell, and share this video. I'm going to ask you to really share this video because I'm really concerned with the state of our world, and you'll hear why as I share about what's going on in Germany. It's absolutely disgusting what
It's absolutely disgusting. Forgive me for jumping in here, but I just want to ask one real quick question from y'all. Please comment down below. In just the few minutes that she's already been on, 1 minute, 1 second into the video, is it me or does she strike you as a textbook Karen?
has happened. Germany has just decriminalized the possession, the selling of child pornography. They have a very...
The lie detector test determined.
That's a lie.
That was a lie.
sorry, I have to stop her again because she just made her first false statement. I'm going to put up on the screen right now, or rather Justin's going to put up on the screen, the German Penal Code. And what you're looking at is Section 174B, followed up by Section 174C. These, in fact, criminalize child and youth pornography. Those are two different categories here in Germany. Technically, there are three categories. Child pornography, which contains depictions of children younger than 14. Youth pornography, which is children 14 to their 18th birthday. And then adult pornography, which goes from the 18th, to to whatever you're into. But there are three distinct separate sections. But if she's going to bring up child pornography, then we'll talk about just child pornography. That is still illegal, as you can see on your screen. However, she just said they decriminalize the buying and selling of child pornography. If you want to take a moment and download for yourself, because we will put the PDFs down below of the criminal law here in Germany, and you can read for yourself, there is no mention of buying and selling. There is no mention of that in the law whatsoever. It's not about buying and selling. It's about possessing. Do you possess it? Have you possessed it? And that is illegal in Germany. So again, she's already off track.
Petty reason as to why they are doing this, and we'll get into all of that. But I really want to raise awareness on this topic because there are people that are fighting to normalize adults having sexual relations with children.
She says in Germany, there are groups that are fighting to legalize the relationship. There is a group that is petitioning the legislature to consider lowering the age of consent, not doing away with it completely, but lowering it from 14 down to 12. And they're doing so legally. They are going through the proper process. And so to say that they're fighting makes it sound like they're doing something in a nefarious way, or that they're just trying to legalize sex for all children from birth all the way up. They're not. And I'm not taking that position myself. I don't think the age of consent needs to be lowered. But in Germany, the age of consent is 14. 14 on up, young people can enjoy their own bodies and start making decisions about their own bodies. And that's because Germany recognizes that at puberty, and we'll give an extra year and call it 14, children who have those hormones coursing through their veins, they have sexual needs. And they should be allowed to have some form of sexual expression. Now, do I think that predators should go out after them? Of course not. But should they be prohibited from, exploring their bodies completely? No, not at all. So Germany says 14. Let's move on.
And if we don't stand up and raise awareness so that people are aware of what's going on in our world, then people are going to be blindsided when this happens. So Germany's parliament has received the votes that are necessary to remove a section of the criminal code which made possession of child sexual abuse materials a felony crime. According to the Germany's parliament, the bill stipulates that possession and acquisition should be punishable with a minimum of 3 months imprisonment and distribution with a minimum penalty of 6 months. But that's
okay. Now, Brittany, you started this conversation, and in fact, you even labeled your video the decriminalization of child pornography. Well, you just read the part of the law yourself, and clearly Germany did not decriminalize it. So would you please stand on one position or the other? Which are you going to have it? The fact is, it has not been decriminalized. Now, let me say one thing further. You keep talking about the world is sick. We need to stand up and defend the world. First of all, worry about your country first, Brittany. You have enough problems in the United States. You don't need to export your problems to us. And quite frankly, you don't need to worry about our problems. You just mentioned that the German parliament, we'll call it the Bundestag. If you're going to call it something, give it its proper name. What they did is they received the necessary votes to overturn this, and not overturn it, but to change it from a felony down to a misdemeanor, which is still criminal. That's called democracy, Brittany. And the people of Germany, through their elected legislatures, have the right to determine for themselves what is legal and what is not legal. So we're not talking about a fringe group here. We're talking about the majority of legislators passed this bill. They were in favor of it. Let me tell you what you clearly don't know because you didn't bother to do your research properly. This bill actually had the sponsorship and the support of we have two different types of bars here in Germany, the Lawyers Association and the Judges Association. The Lawyers of Germany and the Judges of Germany were in support of changing it from a felony down to a misdemeanor. Now we're talking about pornography. We're not talking about sexually abusing children, because what you're doing is lumping everything together. Brittany, you are assuming that a picture of some, 10-year-old kid bathing, getting pictures while they're bathing is somehow the same as watching some baby being sodomized on film. Not all depictions of naked children are the same. We've had this discussion before, but Brittany, clearly, you're not listening. So when we're going to define what is pornographic, okay, we first have to determine what range of activity are we talking about that's being recorded. Second of all, I'm going to go back to my original point. It's called democracy, Brittany. And if the people of Germany have decided this is what's appropriate for this country, it's not for you to say otherwise. Worry about your country first. Moving on.
Only really if you're charged, right? And if you're found guilty. And so I just think this is absolutely sickening in itself. Because if you have possession, you're selling and buying child pornography. Like,
that was
No, Brittany. Because someone possesses something does not mean that they bought it or that they sold it. That's not written in the law, and that is, you are assuming something, Brittany, because I personally know people or know cases where people bought movie files, just regular Hollywood type movies in bulk. They get a disc with 1,000 movies on it, and in there sometimes are, some movies that shouldn't be there. And there are plenty of ways to just be looking at adult pornography online and stuff gets slipped in there and you don't even mean to be seeing it. It does happen. I know you don't believe that, Brittany, but it really does happen. So possession does not mean that anyone is buying and selling it. There are a few people who are doing it. There are organizations who are out there doing it. Absolutely, yes. But let's be honest, not everybody who gets arrested for possession was buying and selling, because you don't have to buy it to get it. And if you get it, you should keep it to yourself and not sell it. Just saying, Brittany. I'm just asking for a little common sense. I'm Brittany.
You should be punished a whole lot longer than 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
These are...
Back to your opinion of what people should be punished for, because possessing a picture of some, 15-year-old child masturbating. Okay, maybe you shouldn't really be holding a video like that, but it's up to the courts to determine what your sentence is, not you, Brittany. And the sentencing structure in Germany is created by the legislature, which again means the people of Germany have spoken. That is what we have decided for our society over here, Brittany. So we're back to really none of your business. Worry about your country first.
Children that we're talking about. And Germany.
I'm sorry. A thought just came into me as I was clicking the button to move forward. Let me point out, as crazy as this sounds, I told you earlier there were 3 separate sections of categories of pornography: child, youth, and adult. The interesting thing about youth pornography, I mentioned just a second ago, some 15-year-old kid masturbating on camera. It turns out that in Germany, it is legal to possess that. If the person, the teen, the child, whatever, is older than 14, and that person consents to being recorded, and the person who records it keeps it for their own personal use or pleasure or enjoyment, that's not illegal. That's not illegal in Germany. So again, Germany has determined for itself what is legal and not legal. Brittany.
Just lowered the standard. It's also no longer a crime. It's just, it's no longer a felony. It's just a misdemeanor. So
she caught
how
herself.
is it that you can get a felony for driving drunk, yet you can get a misdemeanor for child pornography?
Because, Brittany, driving drunk on the road puts people's lives in danger. People can be struck and killed. People can be struck and lose limbs, lose their livelihoods, their entire lives completely 100% destroyed. And if you are a child and I'm going to say 14, 15, and somebody takes a picture of you at a nudist beach while you're naked, your life is not destroyed. Okay? Nobody is physically being destroyed or harmed. Now, it's possible that some of the activity inside those videos is harmful, can be violent. That is absolutely true. And we're all against that. Well, okay, all sane, rational people are against that. Anyone who wants to live in a modern civilized world is against that. But to equate having someone being naked in a photograph, just naked, as opposed to drunk driving where people are killed and lose body parts, Brittany, that's not a comparison. That's not a comparison that can rationally be made. My opinion.
The world that we live in is sick. And so here's the rationale here. The rationale behind downgrading the crime to a misdemeanor is that parents and teachers of children who download the content in order to inform law enforcement. So they're saying that parents and teachers who found the content and were going to share it with law enforcement under the old law would have been criminalized.
No.
Even though
No
they weren't
prosecutor
doing
would have
anything
done that,
wrong, they were
Brittany.
just turning something in, which I think is a load of you know what.
It is a load of you know
Because why
what.
would a parent or a teacher be punished for saying, hey, this is going around, I'm seeing child pornography, I have no involvement.
Okay, Brittany, again, you're being ridiculous. You're cherry picking a fact and then running with it. No teacher, no parent, no adult, no child is going to be prosecuted for handing that material over to the police. That is absolutely 100% no different than if on a school bus I find an ounce of cocaine in a Ziploc bag and I give it to the police. Do you really think I'm going to be prosecuted for possession of the cocaine? Of course not, Brittany. God forbid my sister commit an armed robbery and I find the gun and I hand that gun over to the police. That does not mean I was in possession of a firearm used in the commission of a crime. Brittany, stop being ridiculous. Stop taking everything to the extreme. Just a little common sense. I'm only asking for a little bit, Brittany.
In this, but I want to turn this in because you guys need to get to the bottom of this.
It's just
So they're saying they would
ridiculous.
have been criminalized. They also want to downgrade this to a misdemeanor because there's a large portion of juvenile offenders. So, you know, maybe teenagers sexting and
Yes,
doing things
Brittany.
like that. They too would have been criminalized. And so I don't understand why they just couldn't make certain exceptions to the law. Like, hey, if a teacher or a parent is coming to law enforcement to turn.
Brittany, I'm going to go back again. They have not decriminalized this. They have not decriminalized this. The people who should not be in possession, who are possessing things that are harmful to children or took advantage of children, they are still being prosecuted. What do you not understand about this? You're saying, well, they've done away with it completely because innocent people might get caught up in this. It is still a criminal act. And no one is being prosecuted for going to the police and telling them about criminal activity. Brittany, please stop spreading fear needlessly.
Something in because they want you to get to the bottom of it. Like, why don't you just go do your research, figure out who's at the bottom of this, who created this, who sold it, who, you know, get to the bottom of this and not punish the teacher for going to law enforcement, not punish a parent for going to law enforcement.
Notice she's giving no
like,
examples
there could
of
be
this.
exceptions made to the law. It was the same thing. I did an interview on the Daily Wire about the decriminalization of prostitution.
So Brittany is using analogies in order to demonstrate her point that people, parents, teachers, whatever, could get caught up in this. And yet she has not given us a single example of someone who has actually been prosecuted for turning this stuff into the police.
And like, I see both ends of the spectrum here.
Do
It's
you?
like, if you decriminalize prostitution, like, that's great for the women who are being forced into prostitution. But there's also a lot of women who are not being forced into it, who are willingly selling themselves
Okay, Brittany, let me educate you on something else. Prostitution is legal in Germany, which means women and men can legally enter into contracts to sell their bodies for money. This is a conversation that's been going on for thousands of years. As for the women who are being forced into prostitution, that in and of itself is a crime. Not the prostitution, but the fact that they're being forced into it, that is still a crime. So making it legal for the people who are willingly doing this, who are voluntarily doing this, is not putting the women who are being forced into this into positions where now it's legal so they can just be forced into it. No, they're two separate crimes. What can you not understand about that, Brittany? Is your mind just not capable of understanding nuance?
And so now you've just decriminalized it for, like, now you're wanting to decriminalize it for everybody when it should really be a case by case basis. And that's the same thing and the same feeling.
Okay. Let me tell you something else, Brittany, since you can't understand nuance. This is absolutely no different than saying because some people are alcoholics and are destroying their livers, we should protect them by banning alcohol for everyone. No one should be allowed to buy beer because some people choose to get highly intoxicated, drive on the road, and kill people. So let's ban it for everybody. No, Brittany, we're not going to ban alcohol for everybody. Instead, we will prosecute those people who exceed the limit for what they're allowed to intake, and we will punish those people who drive while drunk and who commit crimes while driving drunk. Okay? Do you understand the difference? No, I don't think you do.
And beliefs that I have with this. It should be a case by case basis. Like, you shouldn't punish the teachers. You shouldn't punish the parents who are trying to do the right thing. You should punish the criminals. You should punish the pedophiles, the child molesters, these nasty people who have this in their possession. These are the people that should be punished, and a whole lot more than 3 to 6 months.
Well, that's your opinion.
3 to 6 months. That is insane to me.
To you.
Okay, so what really made me sick to my stomach when I was reading through this article, which, by the way, I found the article on redex.com or .info, REDU.
Okay, so what you did is you found an article and based your entire argument on a news report article or a article written by someone in Reddit instead of actually looking at the German law, instead of actually, reading the legislative comments by the legislatures here in Germany. You just went with an article that you read. Yeah, very professional, Brittany.
xx.info. What really made me sick to my stomach was that there is a pro-pedophile group in Germany who is praising and celebrating the decriminalization of pedophilia.
Yay!
Of course he is. He's a pedophile. Like, why?
That was a lie.
Brittany, that is so stupid. That is so stupid. Brittany, I don't remember any party at the end of my street in the park where a bunch of pedophiles got together and were handing out cupcakes and lollipops and, setting off fireworks, celebrating.
Wouldn't he celebrate this? But
it's a national holiday now.
Open your eyes for a minute, Germany, and recognize that if a pedophile, a pro-pedophile group is celebrating your new law, then you have gone so far in the wrong direction. I was absolutely disgusted when I was reading this. The group is called Krumi 13.
This is clearly the language of a Karen.
I tried to go on their website, but everything is in German, so I couldn't understand everything they were saying.
Again, Brittany, your research is ridiculously lazy. If you go to a German website, you can expect it to be written in Germany because guess what, Brittany? The whole world doesn't speak or use English on a daily basis. I know in your world that's hard to believe, but that is true. But instead of being so damn lazy, get a translating program. Have you never heard of Google Translate? Have you never heard of DeepL? Woman. Stop taking things at face value, the first thing you see, and then just stopping your research there.
But Redux, they translated some of their stuff into English. So K13 was celebrating this law, but then they took it further. They also go by K13. K13 further advises all the visitors that go to their website to have any relevant defense lawyers submit applications for stays of proceedings on behalf of their clients in ongoing proceedings in order to wait out the period of time until the law goes into effect. So that means
Okay. Let me let you finish your
everybody
thought.
that's currently fighting, you know, they're the defendants for child pornography. They're saying, hey, have your lawyers just like try to get the judge to just put a pause on your case until this law comes into effect, because once this law comes into effect, you're only going to get like 3 to 6 months maybe. So it's okay.
Okay, Brittany, you clearly do not understand the law. I don't know if you're really trying to pass yourself off as a legal expert, but you clearly have no training in the law. This is how the Western world works, including the United States. If a law is changed, if a punishment is changed, if the definition of a crime is changed while someone's case is pending, if the change in the law is more favorable to the defendant, it is automatically applied to that person. If it is more harsh than what was in place during, at the time that the crime was committed, then it does not apply to that person and just takes effect for everyone who commits crimes after the enactment of that law. So this idea that people should wait out their prosecutions until the law goes into effect, the moment the law goes into effect, that's it. It's favorable to everyone. It's automatically in effect. That is true as far as I know, in every Western democracy. Study the law a little bit further.
Hey, just wait it out. Like, that is sickening to me.
Sickening.
It is sick to me that there are actually groups of pro-pedophiles encouraging other pedophiles.
You know what, Brittany? It sickens me that there are groups, actual clubs and organizations in the United States who try to, quite frankly, abuse the civil rights of gay teens. That makes me sick too. It makes me sick, Brittany, that there are groups in the United States that send children to conversion camps to keep them from accepting their sexual identities as being gay. Go to hell, Brittany.
This guy that runs this group, his name is Dieter Ginsing. He's been repeatedly charged with the possession of child pornography. Repeatedly charged. And here he is encouraging other people and teaching them how they can lower their sentence by waiting things out.
Teaching them like their lawyers don't already know this.
Like, Germany, wake up. Wake up,
Brittany,
Germany.
wake up.
You're not helping. You are hurting. You are hurting people. You are hurting young children by passing this law. You're not a solution.
Do it for the
children. You
children.
are a problem, Germany, and you need to wake up, because this is absolutely sickening to me. So let's read more.
Out of curiosity, has anybody been keeping count of how many times she is sick to her stomach, or it makes her sick, or it's just sickening, or it's disgusting? Has anybody kept a count? I did not. I should have. Shame on me.
About this guy, Dieter Ginsing, okay? He was sentenced to 18 months in 1996, for which he only served 1 year in prison on charges related to operating a mail order child pornography service from a van. So mail order child pornography service from a van. That is so sick. And then he was also accused of possession of child sexual abuse materials obtained between 1999 and 2001.
Okay. I know this is going to be a really petty point on my part. He was never charged with child sexual abuse materials. I don't even know this man's history, but there is no charge of child sex abuse material in Germany. It is called child pornography.
The pornography was found on his computer after a search of his residence in August 2001. His devices contained a total of 216 images of naked children.
Naked children. I'm going just on what you're saying, Brittany. I have not looked at this for myself, and I will qualify my statement by saying that. But naked children? No, Brittany, that's not enough to send someone to prison for the rest of their lives or even for a significant time. Naked children is much different than children engaged in sexual activity, which is also different than children engaged with sexual activity with adults. No, simple nudity of children. No, I am not such a caveman that I think someone should be sent away for decades for that, because we don't, you and I, Brittany, don't actually know what was in those photographs. Just saying, Brittany.
I have
your lips.
no words. When I read that, my stomach hurts. When I read that, my chest hurts.
Your chest hurts.
I think of my children.
Your children.
And
Nobody
I think
wants
of
your children, by the way.
all of these innocent children around the globe who are being taken advantage of by people like Dieter. And he thinks in his sick mind that it is perfectly okay. And then here's Germany that's basically taking.
That's about all I can take of this woman. She is so ridiculous. Now, I want to be crystal clear. I have no problem whatsoever with the criminalization of pornography that involves children. I don't have a problem with that. Children should be protected. Children should not be abused. I don't have a problem with this. But I don't believe in blanket prohibitions, because I do think teenagers ought to have the right to explore their own bodies and to explore their own sexuality. We should not expect them at 18 years old to suddenly have all the answers. In fact, most 25-year-olds I know don't have all the answers. So at some point, you kind of got to let them grow up, and biology has determined at puberty that's when they start showing interest in sex. I do think also that it is up to individual states in the United States and up to individual countries to determine for itself what is legally permissible, what is legally not. It is not for an American to make a judgment call on another country. That's kind of what got the United States in the trouble it's in now. And the United States is in an awful lot of trouble all on its own. So I really would suggest that the United States, particularly Brittany, concentrate on cleaning up your own mess before you start worrying about what's going on in other countries, because it fascinates me that the United States, that is so law and order, and used to be law and order, and wants to do all these things to protect children, even if it means eroding the rights of adults. Because I do believe at this point, children have more rights than adults do. I absolutely believe that. But at the end of the day, the world is a complicated place. It's not all black and white. It's sorry, Brittany, it's not like the Bible. It's just not all black and white. And, it's the way it is. I think nuance means that we have to consider the intricacies and the complexities of every individual case, and that the law should reflect that. That's what I think, Brittany. I also think people need the ability to change their lives. Yes, they should be held accountable for their actions. Absolutely, yes. They should complete their punishments successfully. Yes, I absolutely believe that. I also believe they should be allowed to move on with their lives afterward, and we must give them a chance to change their behavior and live meaningful, productive lives. And just because I don't agree with what some people do, and I definitely don't agree with the views of these child pornographers who are passing these things around, and I don't agree with the group that is trying to lower the age of consent down to 12. I think it's fine where it's at 14. But if the majority of the citizens around me vote a certain way, and this is what they vote for, okay, I am part of that society, and it's the way the law is. So thank you for sharing, Brittany. You are definitely not a Karen, Brittany. Thank you for sharing. As for the rest of you, I would absolutely love to read your opinions in the comments down below. Or you are welcome to join us on Sunday evenings Germany time, where we get together as a group on Patreon and we discuss these things. Very much, please, folks who are going to join us on the Sundays, let's talk about this case. And if you have an opinion different than mine, I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. The only thing I ask is that you please do your research properly. Come to me with logical arguments. Come to me with facts. Don't tell me how sick you are to your stomach, because that doesn't matter to me. I want to know the law. I want to know the facts of the case, and I want a reasonable solution to it. So if you enjoyed this video, if you did not enjoy this video, if you have something to say, please, please, please comment below. And by all means, subscribe. Until next time, my friends, be well, be smart. And if something interesting like this comes across your feed on YouTube, by all means, shoot it to us. We'll look at it. And if we can make an appropriate response video, that we will do. Okay. Until next time, my friends, be well and be safe. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.